everyone, my name is Zach REDRUP. This is the It's Not a Phase podcast. On this episode, I'm joined by InMe frontman Dave McPherson. The band are reissuing an expanded version of their 2003 debut album, Overgrown Eden, so we talk about that time in the band's career, including their beginnings when they were called Drowned, how the music industry has changed over those past 20 years, their future plans, including a brand new album, and loads more. Before we get started with the chat, if you enjoyed the podcast and you'd like to support it, there's a few ways that you can do that, and they all just take a few seconds of your time. You can hit subscribe or follow wherever you're listening to or watching the podcast so you don't miss out on any future episodes. You can leave a review or a comment. You can go and give the podcast a follow on social media, and there's also a Patreon and there's a web store if you did want to go the extra mile. You can find links to everything that I've just mentioned in the description of this episode, or you can head to itsnotaphase.co.uk. And now, here's my chat with Dave McPherson of InMe. What's up, everybody? Thank you for joining me on this episode of the It's Not a Phase podcast, where I'm joined by Dave McPherson of InMe. How's it going, dude?
Life's good, man. How are you?
All good, man. All good. We're going to be talking about something that's kind of new, but also kind of old. Obviously, we're looking back at the debut album, 2003's Overgrown Eden, which is getting a reissue with, I think it's 10 extra tracks.
Yeah, well, sort of. Yeah, 10. They were the B-sides
Yeah,
or the singles of the Overgrown Eden era. Yeah.
yeah, from that cycle, yeah.
Yeah.
And that comes out on November 1st, which will be the day after the day after this episode comes out. So I guess starting off with like a big question, I suppose, is how does it feel knowing that, over 20 years later, this record is still resonating with people in the way that it is?
It's great. Yeah, I think the older I get, the more comfortable I get about things. And it feels like a lifetime upon a lifetime ago.
Yeah.
In many ways, it doesn't feel like it was me that lived it. It's that strange. The flow of life. But it's nice because we had no idea. We just wanted to make the best album could make at the time. We were teenagers, like we were 15. There's one song on this on the B-sides, which was from 1998,
Wow.
1997. And so it's mad that something that we didn't there was no thought. We didn't know that it was going to affect people and it was going to be their favorite album, one of their favorite albums throughout life. And we didn't know certainly didn't know I'd be chatting about it in my 40s.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's given us a lot, that album. It was the start of it all. And it gave us an audience and it gave us opportunities that we wouldn't have had. So, and I think it stands up, you know. Obviously, I listen to it completely different
Yeah.
to anyone. So I can't objectively listen to it like an outside listener. I was there. I made it.
Yeah, you're the
So
creator, so
yeah, played a big part in it. But I think the songs stand up, and it was sort of established our sound, and so we probably still draw on it quite a lot. Um, yeah, it feels great, really.
yeah,
I'm glad to still be here.
yeah. Well, how do you, 'cause you just mentioned there, like obviously you being a part of the band, listen to it very differently to, pretty much everyone else.
Yeah.
How do you kind of personally connect with the album, if at all? Like, do you still, I
Oof.
don't know, connect with the lyrics in any way at all? From, I think were you
Yeah,
19, I
yeah, I
think,
definitely
maybe
do,
that?
but maybe differently to how I felt about the lyrics then.
Yeah,
I think I was actually, I think I'm much more equipped now to be very concise with a feeling I want to portray in a lyric, a whole subject. The song, there's probably a lot more cohesion. Um, um, but I relate to a lot of the lyrics still, and some I don't. But I'm still getting sort of similar sort of feelings and goosebumps from singing it because hearing other people sing it back,
Yeah.
that is crazy. That's more communal sort of that makes me feel really connected to the songs and the people singing along or whatever. Um, so yeah, I don't know some of it. I'm like, I have no idea what that means, and I'm not even sure I knew had any idea what that meant when I sang it. It was
Mm.
a lot of it was just bleh. That's the lyrics. I
Yeah.
don't know what they mean, but I like the way they sound and I like singing them, so there they are. Whereas now it's a bit more refined. Although sometimes I do just sing a lyric and go, oh, I should work on some lyrics to that cool initial idea, and then sometimes the lyric sticks. So, but yeah, it's quite pure and innocent in that sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, nothing about it is conceited or anything. Yeah, it's just an outburst of of a broken young man or teenager even
Yeah.
for a lot of it.
So do you have like would you say you have like a favorite or least favorite thing about the record? What would you say they would be?
My least favorite would be I'd love to re-sing it personally,
Right.
just because I hadn't found my voice yet. A lot of people will be outraged and be like, "Oh no, it's the best singing ever you've ever done," but this is me. So I'd probably re-sing it now that I found my voice a lot more experienced at the technical side of singing and um, just how I express myself. I'd put a lot more in. It'll be a lot more nuanced.
Yeah.
Um, so I do struggle. Like people put it on sometimes on jukeboxes or whatever, and that's a quick way for me to hide away. Um, just because, yeah, I listen to the things that are wrong with it. The
Yeah.
things that I recognise that are wrong with it, which other people might listen to, and maybe they'd actually be in it, something that enhances what they feel about my singing on it. But yeah, so I'd probably re-sing it, but then it defeats the object of it being a of its time thing.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm I'm just proud of the fact that we didn't we just did this subconsciously. I guess the songs are really well structured and to the point. There's not a lot of fat. It's all pretty trimmed up and yeah, strong riff, verse, lead up, chorus. It was quite well structured for some teenagers. Um, and so yeah, the songs.
Mm.
I think the melodies are really strong. Because the melody is something that's just always come naturally to me, and I know if I work on melody, I can create melodies that I like, but also sometimes they just come to me.
Yeah.
That's the parts of my brain I'm not understanding. I'll just be like, I don't know how I just wrote that, but that is a killer chorus melody or whatever. So that stuff from Overgrown Eden, yeah, just the melodies, the songs, and then a lot of it was quite painful to make. I was going from being a teenager to being an adult
Yeah.
by word only. And yeah, so it was quite a hard process. There was a lot of pressure. But yeah, just the melodies and the songs.
Right.
Simple answer to
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
Fair enough. Well, I think you were a band for like maybe 6 or 7 years before, the album came out.
yeah.
And for most people, they didn't know who you guys were until the album came out. So
Mm,
what was that kind of time before you kind of, you got that signing and the album coming out? And obviously you guys got a lot of exposure in such a short space of time and being so young as well.
yeah. Well, it was mad. I mean, I started the band with Joe in July 1996. Simon came in. He was, we were all at school. This is a different life ago. It's quite strange to talk about. And yeah, so first rehearsal was in my mum and dad's living room. Um, yeah, me, Joe, and Si, July 1996. So that's where I believe is when the band started because we were a band.
Hmm.
And so we started, and then when you're younger, you grow quite quickly and in a very short space of time. So yeah, like year by year in those initial really young years, we were growing and we were kids, and then we were sort of going through teenage years and school, and then we started college, and by then we were quite serious about the band. We'd rehearse twice a week religiously, writing new songs all the time. We kind of wanted to make it, I guess, in the loosest sense of the term,
Yeah.
but we wanted to be bigger. We wanted to play big shows, and we wanted to do music for a living because we just enjoyed it. I was like fanatic. I would write lyrics non-stop, poetry all the time, write ideas for the band. And we were like a local band, but we did all the battle of the bands. We won the Brentwood Battle of the Bands. Brentwood was like our hometown at the time, and went through that. And then we would, whilst we were at college, uh, we were gigging 2 or 3 times a week. Played the Army and Navy in Chelmsford a lot, which it's like it's gone now, but it was the famous venue. Radiohead, Oasis sort of played there in that when they were at that level in the live circuit.
Right.
So we were doing that. We were playing anything we could get really, but we didn't have like people working for us. It was our well, in particular, Si's dad, Gary, was kind of our manager, and we would like hire a coach and go play London like showcase shows, whatever that meant. They were probably quite shady, who knows? Just a way of making money off silly bands that are trying to make it.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, we were playing London shows. We were doing support slots, and we played a support. We supported a friend's band, good friend called Rennie. His band Ism, and we played that. And that's where Laura from Music for Nations, the record label, heard our last song, liked what she heard, and so that was the sort of, I guess, getting recognised moment by the, because it was a different world back then.
Yeah.
Getting a record deal, that was a big thing. Especially when you're signing whilst you're in college to the biggest independent music label in the world.
Yeah.
It was yeah. Sorry, yeah, so that was a waffle tangent, but that was the brief history of us. When we were called Drowned,
Yeah.
we became called InMe. I don't know whether it was because the label thought it was not a good name, Drowned, or there was another band called Drowned or whatever. But yeah, so and then that was like 2000. Um, did that by the time, and then sort of getting the album ready, and that was just rehearsals, rehearsals, rehearsals. It was quite painful. The label were very, you know, on it. They wanted to make us as successful as possible, so they wanted to kind of shape us quick. And I wasn't comfortable with that, and I don't think I acted very, very well with that. Um, how far am I going now? Because I'll just carry on until the
You can
press.
go as far as you want, dude. Yeah.
And then yeah, so then demoed and stuff, and yeah, and then the crazy train started, basically
Right.
the promotion and the success that came after that. Mad.
Yeah. That's one way of putting it. Yeah.
Way too much too young for my poor little
Yeah.
lost
I
brain
think.
to cope with at the time. It was scary, but also so exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Like it's just. I guess it's just so much so quickly and being so young as well. Like, how do you take
yeah.
it all in?
I didn't have a grasp on reality anyway, so
Yeah.
uh, so yeah, it was just mad, but great. It was like, oh, we actually did it. You know,
Yeah.
that was quite a weird thing. Waking up and going, oh yeah, like you are on the telly now.
Yeah.
Yeah, hundreds of people are coming to your shows all around the country now. Yeah, I think I'd appreciate it a whole lot more now, but it probably wouldn't have happened. So
Yeah.
we were a lot prettier back then.
So you were called Drowned, then you got signed, and then it's after the signing that you changed your name to InMe. Is that right?
Yeah,
Right.
well, during the whole process,
Right.
yeah, which is fine. Like I prefer the name In Me to
Right.
Drown. Drown just is something a teenager's band would come up with, or I guess, or
Well, you were teenagers, so
I don't know. I've got a friend's band who are called Drowned, and so Drowned is a really cool word. But yeah, for me, yeah, InMe.
Right.
Yeah,
So
that
did
one.
you, sorry,
I
did
did.
you, did you
Sorry,
record anything as Drowned, or because all I know is that you release stuff, from the album cycle. Did you release anything prior to that?
Drowned. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That just we did an album, in fact.
Right.
I
Okay.
don't even know if people have heard that. Um, Not like a proper, just a record it in one day in your local recording studio thing. Uh, yeah, so some of those songs. So we did a thing called Takeaway. That was the first one. That had a song called Burnt Wish, followed by a song called Web, which is on this B-sides collection.
Okay.
Followed by a song called, it was called Alosin 200 milligrams, which was then changed to be called Trenches, which is on Overgrown Eden. That was our first demo thing. Then we did like an album of just whatever songs we had at the time. It's pretty cool. In fact, it's the only, I've got to dig it out anyway, because it's the only known recording I have of my dad's voice.
Right.
Uh, no videos. Actually, I do have some family videos that I'll convert to digital someday. But yeah, yeah. So we did that, and then we did like a couple of demos, and we were really trying to make it. So the purpose of the demo was to send out to labels or management and whatever. Um, and on those were Lava Twilight, uh, song called Lava Twilight, Ruins, Neptune, and Web. And I think they're on the internet somewhere, YouTube or whatever. Uh, and then we did a demo for Music for Nations, which was kind of a "Have you got what it takes? What do you sound like on record?" thing. Did that. That was Lava Twilight, Ice Swarm, and Firefly, and then the album, which
Wow.
had which had those three songs on it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't know
and then so I
that.
guess a few of them did become B-sides
Right.
from the earlier stuff. So
Right.
yeah, so quite a lot of the 10-track B-sides album, which I've sort of changed the running order so it flows like an album,
Right.
uh, are from songs that, because we recorded for Overgrown Eden 16 songs, and then four of them just became these B-sides.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and
Interesting.
some of these songs I wanted on the album, and the label didn't, and
Right.
I'm fine with that. I get it, but yeah, I mean that would never happen these days. My music,
Yeah.
my tattoos, there for the rest of my life on my body. My
Yeah.
music, there for the rest of my life. You won't care in a couple of years about it. For me, this album is like everything to me.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, yeah. Sorry, I went on a lead singer tirade.
So
Um,
good, man. So there was quite a few songs then that were B-sides, but you would have preferred to
yeah,
have been included on
definitely.
the album that we know. Yeah.
Well, there was one song called Miracle, which was a B-side on our second single, Firefly, and that I wanted on the album. And in retrospect, the label were right. I think that song shouldn't have been on the album. It was
Right.
just it was a fresh new song, and it had some cool little things at the time that I was more into. That now I care about. Is it a good song?
Yeah.
Not little. Oh yeah, but it's got that bit where I did that cool Iron Maiden bit, whatever. Um, but there's a song called Ruins, which we're playing on this tour that that I think definitely should have been on the album. And that's the earliest song I think, apart from
Right.
Trenches was written when I was 15 actually. So I am re-educating myself as we talk. And then Ruins, that I think should have been on the album.
Right.
I still to this day, and I wrote it 16:42. I'm trying to do maths uh, under pressure. Decades. Um,
A long time ago. Yeah.
yeah. So, but I still think that's a great song. And I was like, we should play this one on the tour. And I think it was John, one of our guitarists, suggested it. So yeah, I played it. I played it at a wedding, and that's what made me go, that is a bloody good song, especially for
Right.
someone who's 16. So yeah, that one should have been on. Jealousy's a fan favorite. It's like this short little ditty. I don't know whether, yeah, they're definitely like, these are not just B-sides. These are, as strong as the album tracks were.
Yeah.
Yeah, not
Well, I think
some,
it's
sorry.
I think it goes to like, you mentioned earlier, like, the industry was different back then. Like B-sides aren't as common nowadays
No,
because,
some
physical
people
media
probably,
is not as common, is it? So
yeah, some people probably don't know what they are. I guess if you had a vinyl, you had the A sides, which is the single, and on
yeah,
the B side, you turn it over, you got the B sides. Same for cassettes, I guess.
yeah,
Yeah, the A side and the B side, and then you had bonus tracks,
yeah.
which you had to wait ages for sometimes.
On
It was
deluxe editions, yeah.
it was a simpler time.
Yeah, it definitely was. Yeah. So yeah, so you went into the studio to record the album with Colin Richardson, who, for people who aren't aware, like he's worked with like Machine Head, Fight Star, Funeral for a Friend, Sixth, Napalm Death, just to name a few. What was
Yeah,
it like working with him?
it was. It's an interesting fellow. I mean, like I listen back to it now, and his production is sounds better than what a lot of big budget bands are putting out now. Maybe it's a style of production, but yeah, it's. I heard it through a PA the other day, and I just thought, wow, that could be now. So production wise, the man's a genius. I mean, we spent like this, first world problems band, great residential studio with a chef, amazing situation, to the dream. But he spent 5 days on the kick drum sound. Um,
That's
just
a
five
long time.
whole days of kick drum. And then he'd do 2 days to begin with, and then get it there and be like, start all over again. So yeah, 5 days on a kick drum sound. Yeah, you better learn patience quick if you're doing that sort of recording process. Um, but yeah, it was good. I remember I was probably difficult because I was a young person, and I didn't know what all adult problems were going on with other people and that. I was just in my own little bubble world, um, and I wanted the album to be as pure as possible. I was like, we're a three piece. I want my guitar parts. I want my vocals. I don't want, Joe can do his backing vocals and then drums, and that's it.
Yeah.
It persuaded me to get some overdubs on things, and then I got a bit into the overdub thing. And then by the second album, I went overdub crazy, and we wanted a wall of sound. But yeah, so it was great. I mean, he did the job. He got the sound, and I've met up with him because, like you say, all the bands he worked with, when we were doing some of the B sides for this. Bullet for My Valentine were in the studio because there's two studios at this residential. It's like got a big live room, like a converted church or something. So we were next door doing some B-side mixing or whatever, and whilst Bullet for My Valentine were next door, and you're in the middle of the countryside, in the middle of nowhere in the studios, Chapel Studios, amazing place, like great memories. But and there was another time I think Fight Star were next door whilst we were doing some work because they did obviously Bullet did their debut album. I think similar way we did Overgrown Eden at Chapel Studios with Colin Richardson, and same for Fight Star for their brand new unification. I think that I can't remember when. Don't catch me out because I might be wrong. But yeah, so yeah, good.
Yeah.
And we went back to Chapel Studios for the fourth album because we had such fond memories of the place. That run it are so lovely, and Andrew and Louise Dransfield. And there's a chef there called Munch. Like his food was amazing. The engineers we worked with, Ewan Davies and a guy called Will Bartle, still friends with them now. Um, I've gone off on a tangent.
Okay.
I've gone off on one again. Sorry, Colin Richardson. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, his discography speaks for itself.
Yeah. And you're part of it, so
Oh yeah, sorry, I was saying so. I met him. I think again it was more like 10 years after we'd done Overgrown Eden. I was supporting Charlie Simpson on tour.
right.
Uh, Colin came. Yeah, it was cool to catch up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well,
Mm.
the album itself like has quite a lot of different like styles and sounds going on. Like I guess generally there's like a kind of grunge vibe going on, but then you've got like that opening riff in Firefly kind of reminds me of like something maybe Incubus would do. Then you've got like a kind of solo going on in Lava Twilight, and then there's Her Mask, which is probably like the ballad, I guess, of the records, and then you've got
Yeah,
like these low, like death metal growls and a breakdown going down in natural before you
yeah.
close the whole thing out with a screaming mosaic. Like so many things kind of going on, but it all melds really well. What was going on in terms of like influence at that time for you guys?
Well, I guess like leading up to that, like all members of the band were brought up on music, big time. So, but speaking for myself, like my dad got me into music for real, like Pink Floyd, Queen, Led Zeppelin, The Police, interesting 80s stuff like Talk Talk, Tears for Fears. Um, so yeah, that's it's a pretty good foundation.
Yeah,
George Michael, Dire Straits. Um, that was the sort of stuff I got from him. Mike Oldfield was a big one. My dad loved Mike Oldfield. So yeah, I went on to love Mike Oldfield. Cinematic music. And but then Nirvana, that was kind of the catalyst for the band, really. Was like, oh yeah, okay, I want to sing and play guitar. That that looks fun. And it's not, it's quite simple. You learn a few chords, you can
yeah,
sing a tune, you can start being in a band. Um, and then so me and Joe, we were kind of outsiders, I guess, at school. We went to different schools, but we went to the same primary school, infant school, took through to, we were best friends. Our parents were all friends, and um, so yeah, we both fell in love with Nirvana. We were kind of getting into the same thing. So Nirvana would be the catalyst. So that's probably why there is still that grungy flavor, whatever Nirvana sort of initially influenced us with.
yeah,
And there was like around time of new metal. I got, I mean, new metal being a broad term for some of these bands would probably like being called new metal, some wouldn't.
yeah,
But for me, like Korn was a big thing, like um, the heaviness, but also like the guys like basically crying while singing, so that the emotional. It wasn't just listening to music for just a technical musical experience. I wanted emotion. I wanted goosebumps. I wanted to vent through music. I guess I don't know. Um, so yeah, new metal, Deftones was a big deal.
yeah,
Adrenaline and the Fur, and then obviously followed by White Pony. That was a massive influence. I think it is to a lot of bands, even to this day.
yeah.
Linkin Park was like my college years. There's a band called Taproot. That
Oh
was my
yeah,
that was my college years. That first album, Gift, I think it's called. Uh, yeah, that album blew my mind. Um, just the mix of heaviness and melody, and so yeah, that's a lot. That's that.
yeah,
Oh, it's Slipknot as all. Slipknot's first, the first album. That was like, wow.
yeah,
Yeah, that and Iowa. That had a big influence, I think, just on trying to really capture like rage, like a real visceral, emotional energy from a vocal performance. Now, I wouldn't do quite what I tried to do back then. Like, you're not acting, you're singing.
yeah.
Don't whimper like that or whatever. But I'm not talking about Slipknot. I'm talking about me here, by the way. Do what you like, Slipknot. And yeah, so yeah, that I mean, for me, before Nirvana, a big one was Michael Jackson, sort of Bad and the Dangerous album, and then Bon Jovi. I think I watched some Christmas special. Bon Jovi were doing a live special on top of the Pops, on top of a building, helicopter pad or whatever, and they played Always. And then I wanted that. And my dad was like, and I was getting into music. So my dad got me Crossroads, which came out with that album, which was their best of. So then I was the biggest Bon Jovi fan in the world. Still love Bon Jovi. So actually, yeah, Bon Jovi, a massive influence on in me to this day because of the songwriting and the melodies.
Right.
Yeah. Um, but, and Bon, I love. Don't John will probably never watch this, but don't take this as an insult, John. But the cheesiness, maybe not so much within me. The cheesy love ballad sort of side of,
Yeah.
or maybe people will say that about us as well. But yeah, Bon Jovi was a big deal. My dad took me to see Bon Jovi at Wembley Stadium in '95, and that gig shaped me musically. Watched
Right.
the support acts were Thunder, Ugly Kid Joe, and Van Halen, and my dad dragged me to the front of the gig for the whole thing, and I think that set me on that. From that day on, that was the, oh, I want to do that basically.
What a lineup.
And after that, yeah, just because I've got into guitar music, I guess through Bon Jovi, Iron Maiden. I used to just buy cassettes. Can't remember. It wasn't called W.H. Smith. It was something else back then. John Menzies, something like that.
Right.
I just have cassettes, and I'd buy them based on the artwork. I
Yeah.
just I'd have some pocket money. Uh, I must have been quite a privileged child to be buying all these albums. So cheers, mum and dad. I wasn't a privileged child. Who knows where I got that money from? Um, so yeah, I saw the cover of X Factor, which was Iron Maiden's whatever album, 1995, I think it was released, and it just had this Eddie on the front, all disfigured and autopsy and gruesome. And I was like, well, definitely got to buy that one then.
Got
And
you.
so yeah, the album that got me into Iron Maiden was like Blaze Bailey's brief era. He
Right.
was for a few years. So yeah, and then I discovered all of Maiden. So Maiden big time as well, just the guitar harmonies and solos. Solos are quite often play a part in me, and yeah, I reckon it Maiden taught me like, oh yeah, so you do a verse, chorus, verse, maybe a double chorus, then you do a solo,
Yeah.
and then you do something, and then you do a chorus again, and then you
Yeah.
might do a solo at the end. So yeah, cheers for Maiden for the solos. We do like a guitar solo when it's
Yeah.
right, when it's the right place.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Well, it makes sense, like the Nirvana influence, not only because obviously of the kind of the grunge influence, but when you mentioned before that initially when you were doing the album, you weren't really into overdubs. I think Kurt Cobain was the same when they were doing Nevermind, and
Yeah.
I think the producer, I think it was Butch Vig, the only way he convinced him was because Kurt was a huge Beatles fan, and he was like, oh well, John Lennon does overdubs and stuff like that, and that's how he
Yeah,
convinced him.
yeah, yeah. Maybe it was that I was trying to be like Kurt. I don't know. Yeah, just very purist. Like, well, we're going to play it live. Why would I possibly? We're not getting another member in.
Yeah.
It was like that, and it was like, yeah, I wasn't. I'm much more open-minded now, like, as you'd hope. Uh, Twice my lifetime later. Um, but so yeah, now it's like anything goes. Gaz is quite like that. Our guitarist, the guy I collaborate with all the guys, but mostly Gaz. Um, And yeah, he's quite a purist. If he had his way, we'd do things very differently. He said during this process, he was like, well, yeah, well, we can do the harmonies. I'll sing that bit, and then Mike can sing that bit, and John can sing that bit. And we're like, nah, man, it's what's right for the album. Is what's right for the album. You have to separate the live and the studio.
Yeah.
I think, to a degree. You still want to replicate it, but you could do things live that you can't do on an album as well. You could change things in advance.
Yeah.
The song can continue to be written and grow forever in a live capacity, but on the record, yeah, I like I like a big orchestra on things. We've got a guy that does that very realistically. Um, so yeah, it's what's good for the song,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah, you've got to serve the song, and then, like you say, once it goes live, then you can kind of
Live, it don't
serve
matter.
it.
With a room, it's a completely different vibe. I'm in a band with sick musicians. We sound good and we're live, and you ain't going to be worried about whether you can hear that 12th backing vocal that's all the way up there in stereo. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're fine. There's nothing missing when it's that loud.
Yeah. It's all
Yeah,
about the vibe and yeah,
yeah,
just
yeah.
the feel of the room. Yeah.
And if you make the music that good on the studio, hopefully it enhances your career to the point where you can afford an actual orchestra and things like that. Who knows? So
Yeah.
yeah, no, I try to treat I want to. What's the ultimate listening experience as opposed to, oh, that's cool. I bet that's what they're like live. So I
Yeah.
guess I've changed completely from
Yeah.
young Dave. Young Dave would slap me, and old Dave would say, "Chill out, man."
Yeah. Calm down. Yeah.
Yeah,
We mentioned before, that whole time, like things happened like really quickly for you, and like quite a lot happened. Like so, I mean, just to list a few things off here, I think you had two Kerrang cover features, and I think Sharon Osbourne was caught on like one of the episodes of the Osbourne reading one of the issues with when you're on the cover.
yeah,
I saw that you performed live on TV with it was a show where Dermot O'Leary was hosting. I think it was called Recovered, and then you did a cover of Creep by
yeah.
Radiohead. Yeah.
Mhm.
And then obviously you've got all the shows. I think you supported like Limp Bizkit, Nickelback, and
Yeah.
obviously all the festivals like Download, Reading, and all that kind of stuff. Such a whirlwind,
Done a
man.
really good spiel, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
when you put it like that, I've done some cool stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, um, yeah. We were on the cover of Kerrang, I think even twice before the debut album had come out, which I think was unheard of. So
Yeah.
it's exceptionally lucky in that respect. Um, but, yeah, good team was working behind us. Um, sorry, what was the question?
Well, I was just saying, so all these things that it's such a lot in such a short space of time, especially like we said before, industry was different back then. Like you don't really hear of bands putting out their debut album and getting all of that off the debut album. So, like I say, it must have been a whirlwind. But what do you feel like was your biggest moment during that time? Like, what point were you kind of like, this is just getting silly now?
Uh, I remember the first time seeing us on telly on MTV2 or Kerrang. That was wild because I was with Joe. I was living in a flat with Joe in Essex, and we'd got signed and we'd done this album, and then there was quite a bit of nothing time, and we
Right.
weren't, there was no money, so we were quite poor. Um, and then we got management, and then we got a big publishing deal, which would be unheard of in this day and age. And even though I was like the chief songwriter, I was like, well, I'm not taking what would now be my fair percentage of that big advance. We just said each band member has a wage per month based on how things are going. So then we put on a wage, which is pretty wild. You're like, okay, I'm on a monthly income from my band.
Yeah.
Okay. In a way, like now I work for a living, and maybe that would have put me in a bit more good stead early on to know real graft. Um, but yeah, and then so I can picture that because Tenacious D tribute was doing the rounds, and I
Yeah.
remember that coming on maybe after or whatever, and we were like, "Wow, we're on telly," and that was a big deal then. I guess being on telly is, not quite. There's about a billion channels these days,
Yeah.
But, so that, and then I just think we did the first tour. That was long before. That was 2002. We did the first tour with a band called Sugar Coma from another Essex band, and they were on the same label, Music for Nations, and that was our first tour. Like a disaster for me personally. In
Right.
terms of, okay, yeah, I wasn't a grown up. I wasn't ready to be on a bus with 17 other people and have this be my reality. And uh, you know, I was just a young dumb kid. So that I remember thinking, oh, and it's like a funny thing when you're younger, you're like, oh, I keep being told to grow up, or I know I'm being immature, and you're thinking you can just magic your fingers and that's it. I'm mature now.
Yeah.
It takes years of trial and error, and
Yeah.
and you're really mature when you realize you're never going to be mature. Um, but yeah, so that the Soil tour, we played with Soil after that in 2002. That's when it was like, all right, we've got a fan base coming to these shows. It was us, Hell is for Heroes, and Soil, and that was a wild tour. It was signing, people screaming and wanting our photos and things. And then when we did our first headline tour, which I think might have been that when we released the album around about that time, that was when it was like, wow, okay, we can't leave the tour bus. We're getting mobbed. It was pretty crazy,
Wow.
like different kind of. We still have a very strong audience, but yeah, it was like people crying, just because they'd seen us in person and things, and that was weird for me.
Surreal.
A
Yeah.
really insecure, shy, introverted, scared of the world kid. Yeah, it was weird. Tell you that much.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
can't even imagine how I'd react to that.
yeah. You don't grow up in public.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wild. And yeah, yeah. So and then from then on, just crazy stuff, crazy, massive things. Like, Sharon Osbourne, you mentioned that. So like we were on tour, we were doing promotional stuff in Spain during the Overgrown Eden campaign. We were touring in Spain, playing shows there, and then we flew in to headline the Millennium Dome for a thing for Snickers called Game On. Next day, flew back to Spain, and when we did that Game On, yeah, Kelly Clarkson,
Kelly Osbourne.
Kelly Osbourne, Kelly Clarkson was there, guys.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
so yeah, that just reminded me of the Osbournes thing, but just loads of wild things, just meeting your idols and just being in crazy, all the VIP stuff.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but I was way too young to be in that situation.
Yeah. Like you
Yeah,
say, it must just feel like a different lifetime ago. 'Cause not only because it was how long ago it was, but because, as we've said a few times, like the music industry was so different. Like,
yeah, it's unrecognizable now.
yeah, like streaming wasn't a thing back then. So if
Streaming
you
wasn't a
wanted,
thing, all these socials wasn't a thing. We were, for good or bad, pretty comfortably disconnected.
yeah,
So when we went to these shows, that was when we got that reaction. Yeah, now it's a completely different thing. Um,
yeah, because
yeah,
you wouldn't know, would you? Like, because social media wasn't really properly a thing. I mean, you had MySpace, I think, but not social media as it is today. So you wouldn't know the full kind
didn't
of
even have
fan
MySpace
base.
as far as I knew.
Right.
Just it was like message boards. Yeah.
So there's no way to gauge how many fans there were, really, I guess, apart from like maybe stats from the label, maybe. I don't know.
Uh,
Until you got to the
yeah,
show, obviously, then you saw their faces. That's that's a good indicator.
yeah. When you see the cues,
Yeah.
it's pretty cool. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, mind blowing stuff that many people want to come to one room to watch you do your music thing.
Yeah.
Not good for your ego either. And
Mm.
I've always, and I don't, I'm the most insecure person to this day, really. Often I'm extroverted sometimes, but my usual state is pretty introverted. Um, well, maybe less and less. The more like I've gone through quite a big thing in my life in the last couple of years, and that changed everything. We can get onto that if you like. So yeah, maybe not very healthy for maybe in some ways great for a little introverted lad that is scared of everything. I was pretty terrified. So, but yeah, pretty wild, pretty unique life experience
Definitely.
uh, that yeah, not everyone gets the opportunity to. We went to everywhere around Europe. We went to Japan quite a few times, and so yeah, the Japan trips stand out. You know, seeing bloody Mount Fuji on a bullet train, going to play a show to a sold out room of people in Japan on the other side of the country, and the culture shock there, you know,
Definitely.
the amazing, my favorite food, just the experiences. Yeah,
Yeah, but then you go through life, don't you? And then like you have life experiences and you learn to kind of understand how things work and like how you cope with certain situations and stuff. So, I mean, if you
yeah, and
were
I
in that
guess
situation today, then I guess you'd cope a bit better.
yeah, these days I'm okay with it. I know I'm quite capable of reading the room. Um, yeah, making things as I try and make things comfortable for people, and um, yeah, it's still a work in progress. But yeah, back then, terrified of my shadow. So
Mm.
it was mad. But maybe people recognize that and saw it as a charming thing. Look at this scared dude. He just wants to play music. Uh, he doesn't want to be a rock star or a legend or whatever. But uh, it's a weird old game, isn't it?
Life is a weird game, yeah.
Oh yeah, it's mad.
Well, looking at InMe of present and future, I know you've got those shows in November. I think you've already got London sold out and I think Birmingham sold out now as well, I think.
Birmingham did sell out, but we've upgraded the venue.
Right.
It was at the Institute 3 and it's gone up to the 2, which is mad.
Yeah.
Awesome. I you know, sometimes I just push for a tour because I've, I feel a band should play shows and should get together and have fun and be a band. So I always push for that. And so I just want to play stages. I love playing shows. I love the whole, as soon as I get on stage to the end, I love it. I try and be my best. I enjoy it. And I just love being on the road as well. You know, it's how I've gone through life. It's you're on the move. Cool. Next town, where we at? Right. We know what we're doing. Let's bring it. New problems, new things, new solutions to find, and just the camaraderie and the laughs. Yeah, definitely. No, I live for live. I live for touring. Um, so just very excited. Um, I've definitely done another digress situation going on.
Just
So
raised on the road, so why would you not love going on there?
I love the road. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, uh, Less and less in some ways. I'm not on a mission anymore because you're on
Right.
this never-ending mission, and you're like, what? When does it? When is this sustainable? So I pick and choose a bit more these days. But yeah, I uh, it's been quite mind-blowing that people that you never know. You have your doubts. We're musicians. We got low self-esteem, a lot of us, and you think, God, could this be the one where no one cares anymore? And then lo and behold, London sold out, Birmingham sold out, upgrade venue, Liverpool, come on, get this,
Last one.
let's get these rooms pumping.
Yeah.
So it's great. It's amazing. Um, yeah, and it leads us nicely into the next year of releasing this new album and touring more. And I just want to, I want to go for it. I'm not resting on my laurels. In the best shape, best mentally I've ever been in my life. So I think, yeah, round two, if you like, this is going to
Yeah.
be like a new chapter for the band. And yes, so this album, it's like a tour that celebrates the first album, but it's also moving into. We're playing the songs from all the albums, all the favourites,
Right.
as secret things that. So yeah, it's a 20-song set list. Um, yeah, I've totally not answered your question, I imagine.
You did, you did. But
Ah, yeah,
well, you
like
also
2 hours
mentioned
ago.
you just mentioned there like new album on the way. So I think that's is it called Demons? And what's the progress on that? Is it done or is it just getting
Yeah,
finished up or
we're currently tracking final tracking part of it.
right?
We've been working on it for 5 years. Um, a hell of a lot has happened in life since then.
Yeah.
But in this year and uh, just really real like refined pre-production. So we've just got 12. Like we're trying to make this is our masterpiece. We're trying to make a timeless album and just as perfect as we can make it. Trying to make our favorite album, and we have, I think. And tracking it at the moment, it's like it's hard for me to say because I get caught up in it, and you know, it's hard to be objective about something you absolutely adore.
Yeah.
Uh, so, but I think people are going to go, okay. So that's got some bits from like the Overgrown Eden stuff. It hints at the strong elements of that, and all the others. But it's easily going to be our best album. I reckon a lot of people will say that. I hope.
Yeah.
I'll be wrong. I mean, might have wasted 5 years.
I
That's
don't think
not.
so.
There's no way I'll listen to this album for the rest of my life and be proud. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's all about because like I went through the darkest period of my life during the writing of this, and then I sort of it was a do or die situation for me really, and I got sober permanently and that's changed my life in every respect, all for the positive. So that's led on for the last when I got sober, life changed so dramatically. I had a lot to write about, and I had a lot of music to make because I've been stagnant, sort of, kind of relying on the other guys and things like that. I wasn't in a good enough state to write something proper. Uh, and then all of a sudden, oh my God, I'm addicted to this. I love songwriting more than I ever have in my life. I love music. Um, so I wanted to write about that. So I spent about 3 or 4 days a week for 7 months in this room working on what would be the follow-up because we had the album written as far as we were concerned beforehand. And after 7 months, didn't show anyone a note, nothing. Just lived with it myself and built it and built it and built it. Sent it to the guys. That was pretty terrifying. And they just were blown away. Um, and I'm not trying to blow my own trumpet. They were like they would have told me it's
Yeah.
good, or what on earth are you thinking? That sort of stuff. But yeah, so then it was like, well, actually, we don't really want to like what you're doing is better than what we had before. So we kept the songs that were really strong from previous session, if you like the previous chapter, and then the new revitalized Dave stuff came in and then we reworked on all the older stuff to just really make it like, okay, yeah, this is from now, but it's taken all the cool, interesting ideas from before, the
Yeah.
painful times. So yeah, that's that that's where we're at and we're tracking it. Tom's tracked half the drums, sounds like incredible. Even just hearing real rough mixes, I'm like, okay, we're on to a winner. Um, yeah, really exciting. Just requires such patience
Yeah.
making an album. The next one will not take 5 years. That is a promise.
Well, man, first, congrats on like getting sober, and it's great to see and hear that you're doing better now that you're feeling great in yourself. So
Thanks,
yeah.
man. Yeah,
Yeah.
best decision, best thing I've ever done in my life. It was one of the toughest things to build up to, and then after a while, it became so easy and obvious, and yeah,
Yeah.
um, I survived it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it
And
was.
like I say, now you're out here creating some of the best music that you've ever made and you're really proud of. So yeah.
Yeah, and just all walks of life. I'm happy, like a happy person, and I had moments of happiness here and there, and I was times where I was like, I think I'm happy. I should be happy, even when things are going really well. But
Yeah.
now it's like, yeah, I feel joy on a daily basis. So yeah, yeah, just I take care of myself now, and I'm sort of present in myself, present in my own life.
Yeah.
Uh, and so you can kind of work on things about yourself quite acutely and concisely. You can say, "Well, I don't like it when I feel like that. What caused that?" You can actually
Yeah.
like tackle patterns in your behavior. as when you've got a clear sober mind. So yeah, and then just the gym replaced the pub, uh, and that's been great. Just I feel 20 years younger than when I was a mess. So it's
Yeah.
just a good time, man. It's good.
People say health as well. So
And for anyone worried, like, oh no, we want the tortured artists, don't worry about that. If anything, everything's just a lot better and deeper. And I'll still be able to sing about pain. Don't you worry about that.
so let me just catch it. So did you say you've got this album Demons that's still being tracked, but you've also wrote another one? Is that what you're saying now?
Which what the plan was originally.
Right.
I didn't have the confidence in myself to say, actually, guys, I'm better now, and I'm better now.
Right.
So these songs have taken place to those ones we've worked hard on for the last few years.
Got you.
It
Okay.
was just going to be a follow-up. And it was the guys that actually came to me, as like all of them said, no, these songs should be on the next thing we release should be this.
Right. Got you. Okay.
Amazing. The songs that we've chosen for Demons, they haven't made any changes. And like in terms of they will write their parts, and I encourage that. They come up with stuff I would never come up with, and vice versa. So, but yeah, not one change. They just went, yeah, that song as it was, and then it's going to be on the album. So, so it was them. So yeah, the intention was I've written the follow up to Demons, which I have a title for, but what it has ended up now, and what it probably would have ended up being anyways. Okay, well, I'm so different to who I was when I wrote that. That I nearly said the title. I'm not going to say the title of the album after the one we haven't released yet. But yeah, so some of those songs I'm like, yeah, they're great, but that's not what I want for the album after this. And I don't quite know what I want for the album after this yet. But there are some songs that will be on the album after this for sure, because they're still so special to me. Yeah, I think that answered the question a little bit.
Yeah. Well, Dave, it sounds really exciting, like this new positive chapter for yourself and for InMe as well. Yeah, and I really appreciate you kind of sharing that with me. Have you got any final words before I let you, enjoy the rest of your day? Because I'm conscious I've taken a bit of your time. So, any final words?
I like these. I like this. I think it's therapeutic.
A therapy session, yeah.
Yeah, whereas 20 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to do this, let alone a quick phone interview. So thank you to everyone who likes or supports our music. Take care of each other, and thanks. See you on the road. Hopefully a lot more than just these free shows. Keep a lookout for the new album next year, and something else I can't think of right now.
Let's sell out Liverpool.
Sorry?
Let's sell out Liverpool.
Let's sell out Liverpool. Come on. That'll be mad. That'll be the loudest.
Yeah.
And it's our home, it's the hometown show for our guitarist John O'Keefe. So
all the more reason, yeah.
Yeah. I'm confident it's gonna be okay anyway.
Yeah.
Judging by Birmingham and London, so
yeah.
And we're gonna have a good time anyway. I always say be excellent to each other, because it's actually a very profound, cool statement that no one can argue with.
Yeah.
And it's from Bill and Ted. So
no, there you go. Yeah.
There you go. If Keanu Reeves says it, it must be true.
Exactly. That's how it works. Well, yeah, Dave, thanks again. Really appreciate it. I'll hopefully be at the Liverpool show. So yeah.
Oh, wicked. Yeah, no worries, man.
Awesome, dude.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely will. Take care of yourself, dude.
See you, man. Nice one.
Bye.
Bye.
And that's it. Thanks so much for tuning in to It's Not a Phase. If you enjoyed this episode, then don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Leave a thumbs up if you're watching on YouTube. Follow the podcast on social media, and maybe even join the Patreon or grab some merch from the store. You can find everything that you need at itsnotaphase.co.uk. That's itsnotaphase.co.uk. Thanks again. Hopefully catch you on the next one. And remember, it's not a phase, it's a lifestyle.